Hi everyone, welcome back to Jay's Office Hours. This is Jaye Wells, and I'm here to talk to you about the writing life and the writing craft. I'm coming to you from a different location in my house today. I normally film this in my own office, but it's downstairs in a public area, and that makes it kind of hard to film videos. So I have sequestered myself up in my husband's office. But as you can see, I sometimes use this office. If you will see, I have a sparkle skull that I left in his office at some point. So anyway, different location, but we're going to talk about the same thing we always talk about, which is how to write good books and how to have fun doing it. So the topic I wanted to discuss today is how to write really compelling characters and really strong point of view. This is a topic that can be very difficult to teach because it's complicated. You know, writing about humans is complicated, and writing about fictional humans is even more complicated because sometimes the things that we would expect a real life person that we know to do wouldn't fly in a book. But really, one of the big skills that you need to bring to your fiction is a really strong sense of empathy. And empathy is different from sympathy. Everybody says you have to write a sympathetic character. I don't agree with that. I think you have to write an empathetic one. And by that, I mean you have to write someone that your readers can understand their motivations. They don't have to forgive their actions, and they don't have to always completely think that the things that your characters do are right, but they have to understand why your characters made those decisions. And one of the ways that you do that is you have to know your characters really well first and understand what drives them and really how they view the world. And I wanted to share a story with you today that really informed how I approach writing characters. Back in college, a couple of years ago, a lot of years ago, I spent a summer in Taos, New Mexico. My university has a campus there, and you can go in the summer and take classes, and I needed a few extra hours, so I signed up to take like a Native American mythology class. And my best friend was an art major, studio art, and she went to go take painting classes. So one day we had a free day and we decided to go hike through this canyon. I can't remember the name of it now. It was a long time ago. But it's this beautiful canyon that has these cave dwellings up on cliffs. So you can kind of walk through the floor of the canyon and then climb up and see the cave dwellings. It's a really cool place. But you start your hike kind of up above the canyon. And we got a very early start. So we arrived about sunrise. And so we're standing on the lid of this canyon, looking down at, nature spread out before us, and you could see the cave dwellings kind of over to the side. And I had this moment, I had one of those moments of clarity. Have you ever had those where it's just suddenly like, I don't know, some big realization hits you? And I was looking at it and I turned to my friend and I said, everyone who looks at this scene is going to see something different. She was a painter. And so I said, you're looking at this scene and you're seeing the way the light and the shadows play off the cave walls and the way, and the composition of things, I bet. And she said, yeah, that's right. And I said, but an archaeologist would come here and he would notice, or she would notice the caves and wonder what tools you'd find in there and what kind of signs of life that the native peoples left behind. And I said, and then a historian would look at it from a completely different perspective. And she said, well, what do you see? Well, I was an art history major, and I also studied history and anthropology. So she said, I bet you see all of those things. And I did. I saw a lot of different things when I looked, and it was a very kind of awe-inspiring moment. It was beautiful. But I was kind of also overcome by the sense of history and time and, it was just really cool. So at the time, I didn't know I was a writer. At the time, I thought I was going to be an art history professor. Life kind of took some different turns than I expected, but I think it turned out pretty well. But so really at the time when this happened, I thought, this is a great life lesson, the ability to kind of walk into a situation and put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand that they're going to see something different than you do. And it's a life lesson that I've treasured and definitely tried to remember. But once I became a writer, it suddenly took on a new dimension, because now I think about that every time I'm writing a different character. What are they seeing here that is a result of who they are and their life experience and the things that they're excited about and the things that they're afraid of? A great example of this is if you have a setting, a room, let's say it's a classroom, typical college classroom, and a professor walks in. So the professor is going to be looking at the layout of the desks to make sure that the flow is going to work for their lesson. They're going to look at the projector maybe and make sure that that's set up like they want it. They're going to look for the podium. They're going to think about, I don't know, like, is it too hot or too cold? Are the students going to fall asleep during the lecture? Okay, that's easy. But what happens if an assassin walks into that same classroom? They're going to look for exits, and they're going to look for weapons, and they're going to look for possible threats. They're going to look for the places that they could get cornered. Okay? Do you see how a person's experience and their worldview impacts the way they see the exact same room? This is the lesson that you need to bring when you are writing characters in your stories. You don't have your character walk into a room and just describe everything. They're going to describe the things that are important to them. They're going to describe the things that they see as threats. They're going to describe the things that they see as opportunities. They're going to think about how the items in that room affect their goals or hinder their goals. And that's really the key to writing really believable characters and really believable point of view. So next time you sit down to write one of your characters, you need to think, what would this person in particular see? And what are their goals? And how does what they're seeing in this room affect or hinder those goals? And what would they think about that? And it sounds really basic, but it really is the way that you write good characters. You put yourself in their shoes and see the world through their eyes. So anyway, that's my story. I hope you find that tip helpful. As always, you should check out my website, www.jaywells.com, for articles on the craft and life of writing, for news about my books. If you're looking for a speaker for one of your writing groups, I love to come and teach writing, and I have a list of topics that I discuss on there. And go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss one of my videos. And if you have any questions or suggestions for future topics, be sure and leave them in comments. Thanks so much, and happy writing.